Well, hello, friends. It's Wednesday, my favorite day of the week, and I am so very excited for today's show. Welcome, Amy. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for the invitation.
So it's been a while, and in fact, before we started, I looked back. We were blogging friends back in the day, and when I blogged, now you're still a blogger
Yes.
and business owner, but that's how we got connected many years ago, which is so cool that we're finally actually getting to meet, even if it's computer to computer. But I appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me today.
Sure, happy to.
Can you tell our viewers exactly what it is you do?
Sure. I wear a lot of hats in what I do. I am the founder and creator of Amy Latta Creations, and that encompasses a whole lot of different things. Originally, it started out, like you said, as a blog where I was sharing DIY and craft ideas and tutorials, which I still do. But also, in the time since I started the website, I do television segments locally and nationally, and I've written 6 books.
Woohoo! Now, these aren't your average, ordinary, let's read it from, cover to cover, interesting story. These are some really cool creative books. Can you tell us about your books?
Sure, I'd love to. So I do all kinds of DIY and craft projects. I actually started out when I first started my blog. It was called One Artsy Mama, and I focused on kids projects because my son was small. He's 13 now, and our other
Oh
son,
my gosh.
we adopted our other son from China, and he is 14 now. So I've got 2 teenage boys in the house. No one is doing kids crafts anymore. But my specialty is hand lettering, which is the process of taking words and turning them into art. It's taking your handwriting up to the next level, turning it into fonts and things like that. Specifically, everybody wants that brush script look. So we
Mhm.
do that with brush lettering, brush pens, and faux calligraphy. So when I first got into that back in 2015, it was really becoming very popular and everyone wanted to learn how to do it. And there weren't a whole lot of tutorials out there that were written for everyone. What was out there was pretty much geared toward professional artists or people who had an art degree, that kind of thing. And so your average person who wanted to learn how to do it, and they would sit down and look at these tutorials and be like, nope, I'm out. And so I sat down and taught myself. I do have somewhat of an art background. And so I sat down and taught myself how to do it. And I thought, well, I can stick it up on my blog. I'm not doing the kids' crafts so much. I had kind of transitioned into like grown up craft projects, home decor, painting furniture that I found on the side of the road. And so I started sharing some of my hand lettering, and people went crazy for it because they could understand it. And I have a background as a teacher before I did any of this. I taught public school for 4 years. I taught eighth grade and high school. So my teaching background had me looking at hand lettering and saying, how can I break this down into its absolute simplest pieces so that someone with no knowledge of art whatsoever can understand how to do this with their handwriting? And apparently it worked, and people started coming back, and that was like all they wanted. And I'm like, but don't you want to see my painted furniture? And they're like, no, we just want a letter. Um, so that led to getting a book deal. That's a long story too, but I ended up getting a book deal in 2016, and then the book came out in 2017, in summer of 2017. It's called Hand Lettering for Relaxation.
Huh.
It's a workbook with 40 some chapters, and each one has a design that I hand lettered at the beginning, and it progresses in difficulty as you go. And so each chapter has that inspiration design, and then it talks you through, kind of walking you through how to do what I did, a new skill, an embellishment, a font, whatever it is. And then there's a page at the end of the chapter where I drew a border that you can color in, and then you use that space to recreate the design yourself or create something else. And so it's this step by step workbook to teach you how to letter. So that is the best selling book. That one has sold over 126,000 copies. It has
Oh,
been
that's so awesome.
I know, right? Like unbelievable. It's been translated into Portuguese, Calligrafia para Relaxar, which I probably butchered. I'm so sorry, Portuguese speakers. I'm so sorry. They translated it, so I promise you can actually read it. But I recreated all of the art with the translations that they gave me, so that it was available in Brazil. And then after that, because it found so much success, the publisher was like, "Well, what else can we do?" So because I have kids, I said, well, why don't we do one for kids? People were sending me pictures of their kids and their grandkids and nieces and nephews who were diving into the first book. And I thought, well, they can follow along because I was breaking it down in those simplest pieces. But the quotes and things were much more geared toward middle aged women than they were for kids. And so I thought, these things that they're creating aren't going to be meaningful for them. So
Mhm.
I decided to create this kids book. It's called Express Yourself, a hand lettering workbook for kids. And I surveyed a bunch of my kids' friends, and we came up with quotes that they related to and things they wanted to draw, like tacos and cupcakes, and all the little things that they were interested in, and things they'd want to make for their locker or their notebook. So that was the second one, was the kids book. Then the third one, we it follows that same workbook format, but we focused on funny quotes. It's hand lettering for laughter. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see that I don't take anything too seriously. And I get such a positive response on Instagram from people who just want to laugh, because it's either laugh or cry these days. So
Right.
we did hand lettering for laughter. And then I really was passionate about doing a Bible journaling one. So, and a lot of people, that's why they want to learn to letter, is so they can Bible journal. So
Mhm.
we did hand lettering for faith, and then we did hand lettering off the page. And that one was a little bit
Huh.
different because instead of focusing so much on the techniques, it focused on different surfaces. So we took it off of paper, which everything had been up to that point. But one of the questions that I always get asked by people in my Facebook group and various places is, okay, so I know how to letter now, but I want to do it on my phone case, or I want to do it on a backpack
Wow.
or my t-shirt. And how do I do that? Because these water-based Tombow pens that I tell everybody to use don't work on those surfaces. So I addressed like all of these. It's 25 different materials, plastic, acrylic, marble, and mirrors and glass, and all those different things that you might want to do it on. And for each one, I go through like specifically what supplies to use to make it work and what the process is. And there is an inspiration design that you can copy, or you can letter anything you want. It's just a matter of, okay, if you're lettering on a mirror, this is what you need and this is how you do it.
That's awesome. So I remember a while ago, and it was probably when you were putting out your first book, because I'm in your Facebook group, and I think you kind of put out there like, and you do this often in your group, is, encouraging people to be creative or whatever. But as you were talking, I remember like doing a design like through your instruction of, how to do things. And I remember posting it. I don't know, probably with your group or something, but it just came to me, and I'm trying to think of what it was, but I know there was an arrow because I love arrows, but I'm trying to think of what the saying is, and it's driving me crazy. But you do break it down and make it really simple for, people that maybe, I mean, I know I'm a creative, but I'm not artsy. I can't draw for the life of me.
Well,
Um,
and that's, I hear that all the time, Cindy. And I always tell people, for the lettering too, because the other thing I hear is my handwriting is terrible, so I can't do it.
yeah.
But the truth is that letters are shapes, and doodles and flowers and everything else that you draw, they're just basic shapes. So if you break it down far enough, anybody can do it. If you can draw a circle, you can do it. Like the arrows, if you can draw a line and a triangle and a V, you can make an arrow. And that's, honestly, a lot of my life's work is taking these things and just breaking it down into these teeny tiny pieces and saying, look, you really can do this. Because I think that's really the driving force behind all of the things that I do. Um, I don't know if you've heard my story about my mother-in-law or not, but this years and years ago, my husband and I had just gotten married. So it's probably been, like 18 years ago or so. And now I feel really old. And so we had gone on vacation with my in-laws, and my mother-in-law was one of those people who would say like, I want to do these things, but I can't. I'm not. I can't,
Mhm.
and it breaks my heart when people say that, because I love creativity so much and I want everybody to have that. And like you and I were saying before the show, everyone is creative in their own way. They
Mhm.
just don't always recognize it. And so I, at the time, I was doing Stampin' Up with the rubber stamps and the ink,
Yeah, yep.
and I took a whole bunch of stuff. We went on vacation in this cabin in the woods in West Virginia. And we were, just sitting at the kitchen table in this cabin. And I sat down with her and I was like, look, all you do is put it in the stamp pad, put it on the page, and like I showed her this could not be easier. And she just needed somebody to walk her through it. And she made a birthday card for my father in law. He was a PE teacher. And so we used sports balls, and
Oh,
so she did a soccer ball and a basketball and a baseball, and he loved it. And it literally, like, it sounds silly to say, but it changed her life, because now she has a craft room and all kinds of supplies, and she absolutely loves crafting and card making and making all kinds of things to give as gifts. And now she knows that she can. And ever since then, because I literally watched her realize I can do this and find this part of herself that she hadn't tapped into before. And it's contagious. It makes you want to do it for everyone else that you meet. And so I think that's really the driving force behind the website and the books and everything else, is wanting to help people connect with that part of themselves and realize, like, okay, I can do this despite all those I can'ts and I don't think I am's and all the excuses.
yeah, yeah, and that is it's true, they are excuses. Once you allow yourself to just, like, be free with it, I think, it really happens, and having somebody to really break it down and and let you know it's really not that scary.
Right,
So
exactly.
I love how your story has transformed, I guess, from being a teacher to a blogger to an author and now a local TV celebrity and national TV crafter. Like, kind of roll us through how you've had to um, prepare for those changes, because being known as an author or being seen on TV, I'm sure your life and business have had to change somewhat. Now, when we're running a little blog, my blog was very, very little compared to yours, but like things like are different, like financial, our time management, figuring out the path of where we want to go. Can you kind of explain a little bit of how that's transformed along with your business?
Sure, I could try. I think honestly, I sort of have to adapt and adjust as things change. I never had a roadmap or a plan that said, I'm going to start as a blogger and then be an author and then be on TV. Like, I didn't see any of those things coming, honestly. When I first started the blog, I never expected to make a single penny off of it. It was not for income. I had stopped working because I wanted to stay home with my son when he was small. And I needed an outlet for myself. I needed something where
Mhm.
I could connect with other grown-ups, because, I was a stay-at-home mom and I was like, I love this, but I need something. I need connection. So I had come across a craft blog when I was actually looking for something to do with my son for St. Patrick's Day. And I was like, this is amazing. And we were doing all kinds of arts and crafts and stuff every day. So I thought, I have these ideas. I could put out there what we're doing, and maybe I can help another mom who is in my shoes and who's feeling a little stifled or
Mhm.
stuck at home. And it will give me that connection. And the first thing that happened was, after not too long, Craft Project Ideas reached out to me. Horizon Group, they're the ones who make all of the craft products that you buy in Walmart. So if you buy
Oh, wow.
like pipe cleaners or pom poms at Walmart. That's who makes them. So they reached out and they were like, hey, we see what you're doing. We like your little mommy blog. Can we send you some stuff? And we'll, you play with it. And then if you use it, just tag us in your post and like link to us. And so I was like, free craft supplies? Yes, please sign me up. So that was my very first partnership. And that was back in, oh my goodness, 2012 maybe. And then that's around the time when bloggers started becoming seen as influencers, which I kind of
Mhm.
hate that term, but whatever. We started being seen as valuable in the marketplace. And so advertisers started deciding to pay us. And
Right.
that's when things really changed because my husband was like, wow, you might not have to go back to work if you play your cards right. So I really started thinking of it as a business for the first time once some of these sponsored post opportunities came around. I'm really sorry that my dog is very excited in the background. I
That's
think that's
okay.
but anyway, so I started kind of looking at it as a business and not just a hobby. But each part of the business has been kind of a surprise when it came along, when the books came along, and then the TV actually grew out of promoting the books because
Mhm.
I always secretly thought like, wouldn't it be cool to be like Martha Stewart on TV doing the crafting thing? Like that was this like crazy dream I had, but I never told anybody. And then I wrote the first book and I'm trying to think about, like how do I market it? And I've got a publicist who works for the publishing company. And she was saying, like, let's reach out to the local broadcast stations and all, like your local news maybe would do a feature. And I'm like, really? But I reached out to the newspaper and they were like, let's do an article. And then I reached out to like one of our local networks and they were like, yeah, why don't you come on our morning show and talk about it? And I mean, you could have knocked me over. Like, what? Really? You're going to let me come on? And they did. And for a while, they liked what I was doing so much that they had me come back sometimes on the weekends just to do a craft project. And it was really fun. So I started looking into other opportunities to do that. And I found some local lifestyle shows like Good Day PA and Midday Maryland and reached out to them and was able to get involved with them. And then over time, the more of that you do, the more you get to do as you reach other people and say, this is my previous television work. They're like, oh, okay, you've done this before. So then they're not so scared to have you on air.
Right.
And yeah, so it just kind of grew out of that. But it's definitely, I think of all the things, the biggest thing that I just have had to do is the adjustment for the time. Like you said, it's how I budget my time and making that work with my family schedule. And I mean, fortunately, I can do so much while my kids are at school. So I'm still able to attend their club things and my son loves to play golf so we can still do the golf lessons and my other son plays the drums and we're still able to work that stuff in around what I do for the most part because I'm able to I do a lot of it from home and do a lot of it during the day. And I guess the other big adjustment was figuring out how to do it all from here when the pandemic hit, because that
Mm.
changed everything. Because like I was going to these studios to record and then everybody shut down. And so I had to invest in my studio lights here and I had to invest in like we got new lighting in this room and I've got the dream box for the backdrop and different things. So it's like setting up a studio here in the house. I invested in a webcam and just other things. And it's stuff that like I never thought that I would have a studio in my basement, So as the need arises, kind of figuring out, okay, how do we make this work? But we do.
Yeah. So, what kind of advice would you give somebody that is maybe looking into, um, a type of business like yours, whether it's blogging or becoming an author or honing in on their craft? What's a big piece of advice that you'd give?
I think for me, I find that if I have something I want to do, I try it and I just see what sticks. Like I don't get too stuck on what I want it to look like because some things work out and some things don't. And you never can predict what's going to be what, and you never know what you're going to love. I did not know that I was going to love being on TV as much as I do. Conversely, I also at one point had set up an Etsy shop because I was doing all the lettering and people were always asking me, can I buy this on a shirt? Can I buy this on a sign? And so like I had this t-shirt business going down here. I had the heat press, I had like all the things, and I hated it. Like I found this out about myself. I don't like mass producing things. I want to create new things. And my thing is not that I want to create something for you to buy. I want to create something and teach you how to make your own. I'm a teacher. I'm not the producer of the things. And so understanding that really helped me And it helps me for the future, because then when people come to me and say, will you blah blah blah, nope, it's not my
Yeah.
wheelhouse, it's not what I want to do, it doesn't bring me any joy. And so it was also a real pain, because like he would make up 50 shirts in gray and all these sizes, and somebody's like, but I want pink and I want so there's a lot to the Etsy shop, and it was not profitable at all, even though I was making a ton of sales. It just wasn't. So the things that you think are going to be like the thing that's going to make all the money, or the thing that you really think you want to do, or that you think people really want from you, may not be the thing that sticks. But try it and see what happens. Like right now I'm experimenting. Somebody just told me about Spoonflower, where you can upload like your graphic designs and they'll turn it into fabric, and then people
Oh.
can buy it and they can use your fabric to make quilts or make pillows or whatever they want. Or you can order like curtains and pillows and stuff that are pre-made. And so like I'm having a jolly time like uploading all these designs, and I'm like, oh, this is so fun. I don't know. I might never sell a thing on there. I might not make a penny, but like it's fun for me because I don't have to produce it. I'm just uploading new designs of flowers, and if you like it, great. Um, so but I'm always trying that next new thing to see how much I like it and if other people respond to it.
So what's been your greatest success, I'm trying to think of the right word. I mean, you are successful in everything that you've done, and it's grown and blossomed, but what's one, maybe a trait or something that you really think that this was the key to your success? That's
Hmm.
how I wanted to put it.
Let me think about that. Um,
I told you I wasn't going to stump you. I'm sorry.
yes, you did. Um, I want to say persistence or tenacity, because I learned, and it's funny because I didn't actually learn it in my business. I learned it in the process of adopting our son,
Mhm.
that you have to be the squeaky wheel if you really want something. We were desperate to have him home with us. He was 10 years old at the time. And I'm like, every day is one more day this child doesn't have a family. And they were saying, it's going to take at least 12 months. It's going to take, I was like, no.
Um,
And so at different parts in the process, I mean, there are certain parts where like the paperwork was in China's hands and there was literally nothing I could do but pray, but like there were times when it would be on somebody's desk here in the USA, and you could just let it take its course, or you could call that person every day and be like, "Hi, did you get to me? Hi, me again." And they got so sick of me that they pushed his stuff through, and we had him home in 9 months.
oh,
And
that's wonderful.
when we talk to other people going through the process, they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "It's because I wouldn't stop. I was fighting for my son, for my family, and I wanted it, so I wasn't afraid to be annoying." And
Mhm.
I think that in my business, once I saw, hey, that actually worked, I wasn't so afraid to be outspoken and to push for what I wanted. So when I reach out to the stations, I'll send a follow up email. And I've learned you're not being annoying, you're reminding people, because these are very busy people and they get
Yeah.
tons and tons of emails every day. And, there was one person, it was one of the stations on the West Coast, where I had sent an email, and then I sent another, and then I sent another, and come to find out they had all gone to her spam. And she finally
Um,
saw them and was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I'm so sorry, but thank you for keeping reaching out," And then I was able to get booked with them, and I've done like 6 more segments with them. But, don't just automatically assume that if you try for something, if you email or you call and you don't get a response, don't assume it's a no. It's maybe and I'm super busy, or I was going to get back to you and I forgot, or somebody got sick, or it went to my spam. And so follow up with that. The worst they can do is say no. But
right.
if you're persistent, then you can actually, get your dreams to happen.
Yeah, I love that you just said that though. Like the worst thing that they can say is no. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I took from the corporate world is I everybody was afraid to talk to our boss. And they would
Mhm.
always like ask me to ask him something. And I'm like, what? Like it makes no sense that I'm asking. Like he's gonna
Right,
know it's not me asking because
right,
of our job levels. And I'm like, the worst thing he's gonna do is say no. Like
Right.
that's how horrible is that? And that bringing that to the business front is reminding myself like it's okay to go out and ask those questions. The worst thing that they're going to say is no. They're not going to hate you. They're not going to kill you. Like
Right.
it's really not that big of a deal.
Right.
And
And
the
not to
more
take it
no's you get,
personally.
yeah, like you really cannot take anything personally in business.
Right.
It's and
Right.
that took me a little while to learn, but
Yeah, it's hard because a no feels personal, but it's not.
yeah, yeah. So we're getting close to the end, but I was going to ask, what's next for you? I'm excited. I've loved watching you, and this is awesome that we get to have this chat. But what's next for you? What are you thinking is going to happen in the next few years? Dreaming big.
Well, so the first thing is I just released my newest book, Practice Makes Progress, my creative journal. And this one is not about lettering. This one is for all creatives. It's to get you creating and diving into and exploring your creativity, seeing what it is that you love to do. So I'm really looking for this to hopefully take off. It's a great Mother's Day gift. I was hoping it would be out in time for Christmas, but we got delayed because of the shipping and all. And so it didn't come out until
Mhm.
February. But I'm just hoping that as that gets out in the world, that it's inspiring folks. And then while we were waiting on this one, I was actually writing the next one.
Oh, fun.
And the next one is a book about doodling. It's called Doodle Everything. And you can even pre order it now on Amazon, but it doesn't come out until the fall. It comes out in October. And it's got 400 plus doodles, all different kinds of things. And it was so much fun because that was different than anything I'd done before. And I'm really looking forward to promoting that and, focusing some on doodles and kind of shifting to getting people excited about that. So lots of promotion for that and that coming out in the fall. And then I just got asked to help launch Pinterest TV. So I'm going to be doing a live workshop on Pinterest on May 10th. And hopefully that's going to lead to a recurring show on Pinterest TV. That's my hope. Because ultimately the goal would be to have some sort of my own show of some kind. I don't know exactly what it looks like. I don't know where it is. Maybe it's on Pinterest TV, maybe not. But stay tuned for that because that's what I would love to do.
That it's so exciting. Yeah, I saw that post on Facebook and I was like, "What is that about?" That's so
Yeah,
cool.
it's
Pinterest
super
TV.
exciting.
And like we talked a little bit before, it's not surprising that they're headed in that direction
Right.
because video
Everything is
is
so visual. Yes.
So I have your website that people can check out everything that you do. Check out your different books. You said your books are available online everywhere, and then Barnes and Noble and a few other bookstores. If people
Yes.
actually go to those anymore, I'm not even sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And lots of independent bookstores carry it as well. I know our local ones do.
Yes, and we can find you on Facebook and Instagram as well. And you do have some really cool inspirational things on Instagram. I know like some of your creative drawings, and it really inspires you to like want to get out that piece of paper and
Yeah.
and try your hand at it. And but I am looking forward. I'm actually going to check out the book that you just released, your journal, because that's right up my alley. And I think it kind of brings in a little bit of, you know, learning how to do the lettering as well as the journaling part of it that I enjoy. So it's a mix of both, if I understand correctly. So any last minute things that you want to share with our viewers?
No, just I would love for you to follow along and come visit at amylattacreations.com. I've got some spring and Easter projects up right now and some flower doodles and things like that. And just follow along, and that way you'll stay tuned with whatever's happening next.
Yeah, and the Pinterest live or your print, yeah, the print Pinterest, sorry, live show is in May,
May
correct?
10th. Yes.
May 10th.
Yes.
Awesome.
It's in the
And
evening.
all right. I look forward to that. Thank you so much for joining
Thank
me
you.
today, and it was finally nice to meet you.
Yes.
even though it's virtually. Maybe
Yes.
if one day I get out your way, we can,
Yeah.
have a coffee date or something.
Yes. I'm always up for a coffee date.
Alright, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.